This video is powered by the pros at Pascal Air Plumbing and Electric. Arkansas owned, Arkansas operated. GoPascal.com.
Overall, kind of your early scouting report on Mississippi State, just what you guys are looking for from them.
Yep, Christina, I think, the biggest thing with Mississippi State, you've got to be prepared for physicality. This is a team that loves to create steals. They average 10 steals a game. It's a high gamble team defensively. They jump in passing lanes. The pace of play, they try to control the pace of play. It's a paint game. You've got to be able to defensively defend the paint, especially Tulu Smith inside, who's averaging 15 points per game and on the year, and 13 in conference play. Perimeter wise, they have Deshaun Davis, number 10, Oregon State transfer who can make threes. High assist player, and then Shaquille Moore, an NC State transfer, lefty, can shoot the ball, playing really well of late. And then they have some really athletic wings with great size, and Cam Matthews, number 4, and Tyler Stevenson, number 14, and DJ Jeffries, number 0. So and then 2 big guys inside, and Tulu Smith, number 1, and McNair, who played at New Mexico State last year, and we played, against him in the NCAA tournament, number 13. So boxing out, keeping them off the offensive glass, getting a shot on goal, not allowing their steal game or their defensive anticipation to get out and create transition baskets for them. Those will be some of the keys, to Saturday's game.
And then I had a question about Devo. I know we've talked a lot about how he's been getting in the gym early and, putting extra work into his shooting, but what was it that kind of flipped for him? Was that a result of a conversation he had with you or the staff, or just kind of a self-motivated?
No, I mean, his shooting, I would credit everything to him, to his own work ethic. I mean, I've only really talked to him about, 2 of his fingers following through into the rim, kind of noticed that at times maybe his first 2 fingers would kind of follow through, not into the rim. But even in Lexington, I was in the weight room and he shows up and he dragged Kamani in there. I mean, it's just not often that you have a guy that's playing 40 minutes a night that's coming in to lift weights at 8 a.m, on a 9 p.m. tip off. So his work ethic's been great. His leadership's been great. I thought his on-court maturity at Kentucky was at an all-time high level. He came off a game where he was 4 for 9 from 3. He only took 2 threes. I thought his shot selection was incredible. We needed him to be a facilitator based on how we wanted to attack Kentucky in pick and rolls. And he understood that his role on that given night was to be a little bit more of a facilitator. And he did it, at a high level.
Coach, I just wanted to piggyback off of Christina's question there. We broke down Devo's numbers from the first 6 games of the season to the last 5, and they are very similar. Is there a number on the stat sheet that really pops off to you with Devo in this second half of the season? Because he seems like a whole new player.
No, I think he's, understands that, we have a limited amount of games. And so there's a little bit more heightened importance to every game. But he's doing what the game calls upon. I talked about his assist at South Carolina. We needed his perimeter shooting. Before South Carolina, we really needed him to do a great job of defending star players. So what I'm most impressed with Devo is just his ability to do what the game on that night asks him to do. So he's had many different roles for us, that's for sure.
Curtis?
Coach, even at this point of the season, you're still experiencing new things with this team. I guess is the next challenge for this group to just kind of overcome an emotional road win like last night and be able to avoid any sort of letdown this weekend.
Yeah, I think, the good thing is that it's a Tuesday, and we still have, Wednesday and, where they're really not doing anything. Thursday, we'll have a good practice. Friday, we should have a good practice. Because it's the tips at 5, we will be able to have a shoot around on Saturday. So I think there's plenty of time to get over. It's not just that we won the game at Kentucky. It's also the fact that, we have a winning streak going, just like Kentucky had a winning streak going. And, once you get over 4 or 5 wins, you just can never get comfortable with that. And you have to understand how hard it is to win. And there's a really good chance that Mississippi State's going to come in here on their own winning streak. I mean, they won their Big 12 Challenge game against a really, really good team. They've got a couple wins in league. They play a home game tonight. So, they're going to come in here with a great deal of momentum as well.
And I guess, has there been any change of status or progress of note with Nick?
Yeah, Nick's, he has practiced the last few days with us. Obviously, he did not go on the road trip so that he could continue to stay back here and work on his conditioning. We're optimistic that and hopeful that Nick will be able to play sometime here in the near future.
Hutch?
Yeah, Coach, y'all had that really tough game against New Mexico State in the NCAA tournament, and Coach Jans. I'm curious if you're, even though this is year 1 for him at Mississippi State, are you kind of seeing his fingerprints on this team?
Yeah, I think that all the new coaches, in our league, we're seeing, a style and identity start to be formed. It's hard to do it in your first year, but Coach Jans they were incredible in non-conference play. And then much like us, there was a little bit of a struggle early in conference. And now, like I mentioned, of late, they've been playing great basketball. They're tough, they're physical. They create grinded out games. They're very well coached. They're defense oriented. They're going to throw the ball inside 6 to 9 times to Tulu Smith on straight post ups. And they're great offensive rebounding team. So a lot of similarities for sure from what we saw from New Mexico State.
You mentioned they're playing a lot better of late. Was there something that changed for them? Something that seems to be working better now than maybe earlier in the SEC play?
No, I just think, there's ebbs and flows throughout the course of the season, but Moore, number 3, is playing better of late for sure. And Smith is, he's just a hard cover because he's a wide body. He's a guy that draws free throws attempted. They do such a great job creating steals, and it's really hard to create a defense when there's live ball turnovers. It's hard to come up with a game plan for a team that's a high steal, high gamble team. And so getting a shot on goal becomes paramount. Not trying to eliminate live ball turnovers is extremely important as well.
Scotty?
Yeah, Eric, Mikal has, kind of emerged since you guys, got on your SEC win streak. I'm curious what he's done, maybe behind the scenes or whatever to gain the staff's trust. Like it seems like he has.
He's been really locked in on the scouting report. Pre-practice and post-practice here is really important. Last night was by far his best finishing game. When you look at his numbers from the field, he had a fabulous rim run with a high degree of difficulty pass to catch on the run. He was able to not only catch the ball, gather himself, finish. He hit a mid-range shot. But I think his defensive physicality, his defense rim protection, really important against some of these teams of late that we've played. Obviously, when you think about Texas A&M, you think about their offensive rebounding, you think about Coleman and Marble inside. So it made sense for Mikal to have a big role. And then you think about Kentucky's front line and how you're going to defend and who's going to be primarily assigned to Oscar Tshiebwe. Kel made perfect sense on that. And now certainly coming into Mississippi State, the post-up game, especially of number 1, Tulu Smith, is of the highest importance to us, along with when McNair comes in, trying to eliminate post-ups of both those two interior players. And then we've got a defensive rebound with guys like DJ Jeffries and Cam Matthews.
And what have your impressions been of Jordan of late? I think you mentioned on Saturday that you'd seen good growth from him. What has that growth entailed exactly, in your opinion?
Yeah, I think whether a player starts or comes off the bench, you want that player to be mentally engaged, be able to come in and have an impact right when he checks in, get into the flow of the game offensively, but make an impact on the boards, make an impact running the floor, make an impact defensively. And certainly we feel like Jordan has done that. And even, coming off the bench, my thought process was maybe it would help him stay out of foul trouble a little bit. Although we brought him off the bench last night and there was still a little bit of foul issues, but he's, I think he keeps getting better and better. And when he plays with the energy that we've seen of late, he really, really impacts the game on 3 levels: offensively, defensively, and then on the backboards, both offensive rebounding and defensive rebounding.
Bob? Go ahead, buddy.
Yeah, last thing, if you don't mind. I think you guys' offensive numbers, whether coming out in the second half on that first possession or coming out of a timeout, are pretty good this year. I think especially of late. What do you maybe attribute that to, and how much pride do you guys take in that?
Yeah, I mean, I think we try to take a lot of pride in our opening play of the game. We try to run a play that we've never run before to start every game, a new set. And then, we feel like it's important to get a good shot from a shot selection standpoint to start the second half, whether you have the ball to start or your first offensive possession after a defensive possession in the second half. And then certainly after timeouts, you want to try to get a defensive stop, because you know that if the other team has the ball, that they're trying to come up with a possession that you steal, so to speak. And then offensively, we want to try to do the same thing and try to score off maybe a wrinkle that that the opposition hasn't seen.
Bob?
Hey, Eric. Hey, this is a question I was asking for Nate. I wanted to ask before I forget. He wanted to know what you thought about the development of the twins. And you've already obviously talked about Mikal, but is there anything you want to add about how Mikal's been playing?
No, Mikal's done a great job defensively. I mean, right now in the last few games, his shot blocks per minute is through the roof. Makai, those two guys together, just as we talked about prior to the Alabama game, I thought those two guys gave us a physical presence together at their size, at their weight, with their physicality. So both of them have done a really good job defensively and rebounding and allowing us not to have to double team the post because they've been single coveraging guys that are star players on opposing teams.
And I know how intense you are with preparation, short turnaround from Carolina, Kentucky. I found it interesting y'all went to the horse farm. Was that a spur of the moment thing? Was that planned? And do you think that was that was good to give you and your staff guys a little bit of a mental break when you're grinding so hard, probably?
Yeah, that was all Riley Hall's idea, but there was only so much more we could talk about. We had enough mini film sessions and, just like whether it's an NCAA tournament or whatever, I think it's always good to be able to take advantage of, whether it's a couple guys on staff, whether it's the players, whether it's, support staff, to be able to step away from basketball for a short time frame.
Was it just the staff, or did you take the team, or?
No, there was no players involved. I promise you that.
Okay.
And very few staff.
Yeah. How long were you out there, and kind of what'd you do, maybe to recharge a little bit or whatever?
just get outside. That was it. It wasn't long at all.
Okay, you didn't feed them any candy or anything, apple or something? That's kind of fun to do with racehorses. I've done that. And then offensively, Anthony was talking about how on the radio last night, you guys took advantage of some of their mismatches. And I think he said you ran the same pick and roll play 9 times. We weren't sure if it was sunset or sunset, but maybe how effective was your pick and roll, and what's that play he was talking about called? And have you ever run it 9 times in a row like that?
Yeah, the play call is Suns. If I'm referring to what I think AB, and it's a play that Mike D'Antone ran, with Stoudemire and Nash. Just a middle pick and roll with some different options on the backside that you could do with the screen setter. We executed it really well. We had really good spacing. I didn't know we ran it 9 straight times, but that wouldn't surprise me. One of the things that you learn coaching at the NBA level is if a play works, you probably want to go to it over and over and over and over and over and over and over. So that was a heavily utilized set for us yesterday for sure.
Jerry Stackhouse had something interesting before you guys played him. He was telling the media there in Nashville, and he said, a lot of college coaches, they run their offense and, it's continuation and whoever gets an open look, but that you have an NBA philosophy, obviously, and basically figuring out a mismatch and going after a guy. He basically said, hey, if somebody's going after you, that means they think you're a lousy defensive player. But maybe, I know you don't want to call out guys on the other team, but maybe you could expand a little bit on your philosophy of scouting, finding mismatches, and then exploiting those in the game when the time comes.
Yeah, this is in no regards to any particular opponent, but certainly you want to try to, the way that we look at it is line up, 1 through 5 defenders. You line up your 1 through 5 offensive players. And if your second best offensive player is being guarded by their 4th or 5th best defender, then that's a better matchup maybe than going with your top offensive player against the opponent's top defender. And so it's important, like in our pick and roll situations, it might be important who the ball handler is, or who's guarding the ball handler, just as importantly, who's guarding the screen setter. And then the third piece to that is when you do roll to the rim with your screen setter, who is the tag guy for the opposition? Oftentimes you want a guard to be the tag guy on the roll with your biggest player. So where you place that third defender becomes extremely important. And those are some of the things that you can do after timeouts or going into a game if you can anticipate a certain matchup. So I don't know, Bob, if that answers semi what you were looking for.
Yeah, it sounds pretty technical. I think that's why you're a coach and I'm not. And then you guys had 20 fast break points last night. I think that was your second most and the most in a road game. Maybe keeping with the thoroughbred theme. Did you use thoroughbred in your pregame at all? Being in racing country and just the way you guys got out and really raced, kind of like racehorses, the Arkansas Derby maybe or something.
We did have a theme of the Kentucky Derby for sure. It was taped. I don't know if it'll be out on social media or not. It will be out on social media at some point. I don't know if it'll be out in the next few days or in the summer, but it will be out at some point. But it was more just how hard it is for a horse to get into the Kentucky Derby, and then how hard it is for a team to win on the road, to win in a place like Rupp, and then the significance of what a Kentucky Derby winner, when he wins, and the significance of us winning a big game. So there was a little bit of parallel, Bob.
Yeah. You ever been to Delma?
Your analogy was much better, Bob.
Okay.
Much better. If I knew the fast break points were going to go that way, I certainly would have used your analogy. It was way craftier than what I came up with.
Yeah, well, you look like you had the thoroughbreds. I was just curious, Del Mar, I've been there couple times. Have you ever been to Del Mar out there in La Jolla?
I've been to Del Mar more than enough times. I don't know what's going on. I know nothing about horse racing, but anybody that's been to Del Mar knows certain days, certain nights, whatever, it's kind of the place to be. So yes, I have been to the Del Mar racetrack.
Yeah, where the surf meets the turf, right? And that's
Yeah, I went with Mike Pegram, a
Yeah,
big horse guy as well.
that's right. That's why. One more thing about Walsh. He's been such a good defensive player all
Sure, you
year.
want to keep talking about horses?
Well, if you want to, I got my horse pen here I got this at Churchill a while back. I'm taking notes with it. But Jordan went through a real tough shooting stretch. I think he was 1 for 17 on threes at one point, and he's really bounced back from that. A lot of times young guys, even if they're ultra talented like he is, they kind of get into a funk and it's hard to get them out. What did you think about the way he handled that for a young guy, and kind of what got him back to being productive on offense?
Yeah, I think his teammates, the coaching staff, everybody wanted him to keep shooting. Like, if a player's wide open and he doesn't take a shot, it hurts your offense. It hurts your spacing. And then I thought he did a great job. He's really mixed up his game. Instead of floating on the perimeter, he's been offensive rebounding much better. He's been attacking the rim off the bounce, and he's kind of an X factor for us. When Jordan plays really well, we become a much, much better team on both sides of the ball.
And he had started so much, and sometimes guys, especially when they're, McDonald's All-Americans, they don't like coming off the bench, but he seems like he's adjusted fine. Did you have a little sit down with him and say, hey, I want to bring you off the bench, maybe take a little pressure off you, or how did you work that with him?
No, I just kind of went into practice and said, this is the lineup we're going with tonight. I think that your suggestion, Bob, is more along the lines of what my wife wanted me to do, is explain what was going on. But much like philosophically, we tend to run NBA sets and play all man to man like the NBA. I kind of handled the substitution or the role on that different starters. I just kind of handle it like I would in the NBA, where just kind of went in and said, this is what we're doing tonight. And nothing's set in stone either on starting lineups moving forward. It really isn't. I mean, it's going to be based on matchups, how we're playing and how guys coming off the bench are playing. And so certainly in regards to this starting lineup, it's still in flux, so to speak.
But how do you think Jordan handled that?
10 out of 10, Bob. He was awesome. I mean, that's why he's playing well. If you don't handle it well and you feel sorry for yourself, or it only works out when guys handle things the right way and say, hey, if this is what the coaching staff thinks is the best thing to help our team win, then I accept my role. I might not be happy with my role, but I accept it and I go out and play as hard as I can. And I mean, he played 30 some minutes, I think, at South Carolina. So whether he started or didn't, and last night he would have played equally that amount if he hadn't gotten in foul trouble probably in the first half.
You mentioned you want to talk about horses some more. Did Riley just come to you and say, hey, coach, let's go out to a horse farm, take a little break? And you're like, what? Or how did that manifest itself?
Well, we have a horse guy on staff named Anthony Ruda. He's completely obsessed with horses. And all I know is we were in my room after shoot around, and all of a sudden I started hearing about horse farms, and Riley got an email or a DM, and Ruda's talking about whatever. So sometimes you just go along with whatever the crowd says.
Keeneland's out there. That's a real old traditional track. They don't even have a PA system. It's just like 1800s or something.
You have way more knowledge than I do, Bob. I grew up in San Diego. Other than Del Mar, I don't know too much about horses.
And you made it into the Arkansas Derby really last night. Do you think that you made it to the Arkansas Derby instead of the Kentucky Derby?
You could say that. You can use it, Bob.
Okay.
BetOnline remains your number one source for all your sports betting this season. Everything from the NFL and bowl season to esports. You'll find the latest odds, team matchup info, player news, and game trends at BetOnline. BetOnline features live betting, free contests, and live scores for almost any sport or game imaginable. We're the fastest and easiest way to bet on all your favorite leagues and events. Head to betonline.ag to join and receive a 50% welcome bonus on your first deposit. Make sure to use the promo code BELIEVE to receive your rewards. That's BLEAV. BetOnline, where the game starts.